Good evening, race fans. Welcome to the House of Earnhardt Country. Tonight, Talladega, Alabama, the ultimate showdown between man and machine. And who will risk it, drop the biscuit, kick the trisket, and push harder, go further than anyone else out there on the racetrack, willing to go full-blown high-stakes mode out there on the racetrack, usually ends up putting them in victory lane with a little help from Lady Luck on their side. So strap in, make sure Grandma's got plenty of Colonel-free popcorn as we dial up all the high-flying, high-octane racing action right here on Racers Elite Network. This being a special event on the racetrack calls for a big upgrade in the booth tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Honored to have two drivers out of the Beast Mode Performance Stable, not one but two of them. Joining you, apparently a driver that's been out there on the racetrack, Paul Gallimore, and for the first time, the HMFIC, the originator of the Viper paint scheme that I put out there on the racetrack, Brandon Bikey. Gentlemen, welcome as we start gridding these cars on the racetrack. Thank you for being here. What do you guys expect to see from these drivers here tonight?
I mean, there's got to be a lot of teamwork involved. So hopefully a couple of these guys have gotten together and said, hey, I want to work together. Let's do. You cannot win this race without teamwork. Right, Paul? I mean, you and I have been one of the best teammate systems we've ever had together. So you know that it takes great teamwork for us to get together and win a race.
You're absolutely right, Brandon. That's exactly right. You're going to have buddies out there. Try not to make a lot of enemies out there either. You just want to go fast, hold her wide open, and make it look pretty, and avoid all the carnage. That's the main thing. You got to survive these things in order to win them.
Absolutely, gentlemen. You have to survive and be alive. Remember, and you guys know this better than anybody, you cannot win it on lap one. Obviously, you want to have that car that's clean, mean, and clean. All about aerodynamics here, especially in this next gen, as we get racked, stacked, ready to rock and roll here from the House of Earnhardt. And as Cletus McFarland says, do it for Dale. We're going to do it for Tony Trapasso tonight. A lot of you guys know who he is. This race got a big one coming up here in about 2 weeks. Going to have a very special paint scheme on that car. The only Easter egg I'm going to drop is Tony called it the Miami Vice scheme. And for the first time in a long time, I'm going to be in a Camaro, if you guys can believe that. But this is all to pay tribute to Tony Trapasso at his favorite racetrack with a car that he loved out there in the upcoming weeks. Is that iRacing.com pace car, now set, ready to roll for the first time here this evening. With that said, let's go ahead and take a look at tonight's race information. Going to pop that up on the main screen so all of you folks can follow along at home. And again, Talladega the place, advertised as a 2.66 mile racetrack, and that's exactly what it clocks in at. Track temperature a scorching 122 degrees. Ambient air temperature relevantly hot for this time of the year, 82 degrees, with that water drain at 45%. Partly cloudy skies and winds out of the west at 9 miles an hour. That's going to give us a prime time setup for all the speed, all the fury here at Talladega as that field now rolls behind that pace car, boys.
Getting them lined up here. It looks like it's going to be an exciting night for racing here.
Exciting. I think that's an underestimate. I mean, these guys here, once you turn it loose, it's like the calm before the storm, Brandon. When you're inside the middle of the EF or a Category 5 hurricane and that eye wall comes through on the backside, that's what's going on right now. It's about to get hot, wild, and heavy as that pace car now works its way out of the Turns 4 complex. You see these drivers building some heat in their tires. Christopher Allen going to have the pole in that 111 machine. Outside of him, going to be the first Toyota in the field, Jacob Cannon in the 17th. Michael Capps in the 404 machine, having a great run here this far in the early going. A couple other special races. Then you have the Nitrous Cowboy, Troy Thomas, Haas Beverly,
everybody. Corey's in race control. It's just a couple
Evan Gumlett, Truth Hope, Aaron Roth, Terry Fennell, Richard Ode, and Joel Brooks, all going to take the initial green flag here.
Andrew, appreciate you for letting me
HMFIC of the league. Andrew Teff still in his pits. We'll have to track that. And Brandon Bikey is up here in the booth with me.
I'll be honest, I got to start from the pits. My pedals weren't working.
You know, Brandon, this point in time right now on the racetrack, what's going through your mind? What are you thinking as a driver when you're about to take the green flag at Talladega?
So you're trying to calm your nerves a bit. because it is a high stress situation. So you're trying to figure out, hey, who's my best friend here? Who are the 2 or 3 people that I'm going to work with best? And that's you're talking to those guys and you're like, hey, what can we do? What should we do to not mess up? And let's go get this dub. And as we start the race, we see some people starting from the pits, which is sometimes a great strategy because sometimes you want to be behind all the chaos. And, we've done this before, Paul and I, and it works a lot of times. So we've got Aaron Marquis, who is starting from the pits, and now he's coming out on the track. He's a little bit behind, but you know what? It might get crazy out on the track, and he might be in the catbird seat because he's not going to get any damage because he's going to stop before anything gets crazy.
That's a great.
Him and Andrew are going to want to get hooked up as quickly as possible so they do not lose as much time. At least have a drafting buddy to do that strategy with.
Yeah, well said. And I like the sleeper approach. I do this often in Draft Masters. I'll pit start, and 7 times out of 10 it works out really well. There's 2 drivers going to pull some strategy here, that being the HMFIC of the league, head cook, chief, and bottle washer Andrew Teft in the 98, and also going to be Aaron Marquis there in the 41. So look for the Ford and Chevrolet to work together to send it back up to the front of this thing. And it is all Mountain Dew. Christopher Allen getting a big-time push there from Caps in the 404 ride. 2 Fords lead the way, and it is hot and heavy behind the boys. Look at the big-time push. Look at the run coming to the outside here.
Yeah, so this track it's very situational where sometimes you really want to be right on the guy in front of you so that you can push to the lead, and sometimes you want to give a lot of space so that you don't get in trouble. I mean, it can be either way, and sometimes as we can see, as they're battling side by side, it can get very sketchy. And you want to be in a situation where you do not put yourself in trouble.
And I agree with you 100%. And a lot of times, I'll have a game plan before I load in this race car. Do not get caught racing hard early and tear up, you brought your equipment. But it is so easy to do here, especially when you have, this amount of drivers out of the racetrack. There's less cars, so there's less of a risk. And you see how everyone's right now kind of dicing it up here in the early going. And we almost had a big-time moment there. I believe that was the 78 of Richard Ode. Almost KO'd that Mustang right in front of him. You see them do the jig, the wiggle, able to save that race car. And I believe Brandon and Paul, that's what you guys were talking about right there. You want to avoid what just happened out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, those hair raising moments right there just kills your momentum. As you can see, that the cannon looked like he was shot out of a cannon when he was pushing a raw through there. But now the field is starting to catch him back here.
Absolutely. And when you mentioned the momentum, which is huge in this next gen. Since that update, that side draft, which was very pronounced before, as we're almost 3 wide there around that 6th and 7th place position. That side draft now is lethal. If you know how to utilize it and deploy it, you could just park yourself on a car in the inside lane and almost hold your position on the racetrack and wait for help if you're aggressive enough. And on the other side of that coin, when you're in formation like this, a big push at the front of this field with Cannon and Roth, should one of these 2 cars make a big time change, or even that last car, that 111, let's say he makes a lane change, for some reason that just takes the wind right out of your sails now since that update. So those are all things these drivers have to be mindful of.
You're 100% right. I mean, it's actually so easy to be on the top lane in this game because if someone tries to make a move on the bottom, all you got to do is side draft them a little bit. And if you got somebody behind you that is linked up with you, they're not going to get by you. So it's very strategic to be in the right lane at the right time.
Absolutely. And you've seen that run coming there. Beautiful execution there by Cannon. who has had some mustard here in the early going. That Toyota is FAST fast. You seen him get the run. He timed it to utilize that side draft a little bit. And when he pulled out, you seen how they kind of stalled the line a little bit, and easy to get around that point car and take the lead. But now here we go once again. The draft, everything that you used to your advantage now becomes your disadvantage in a sense, because all these race cars are going to be racked and stacked right behind you, just like they're forming up right now. Christopher Allen, your pole sitter in the 111 machine, currently slides one back in that second place position. But guys, what I'm watching here is this outside lane starting to materialize, being led by that Ford Dark Horse Ford Mustang, the 68 of Evan Gumlett.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing when it comes to next gen is that your car will overheat so fast when you're pushing a car unless you breathe it every lap, and you got to breathe it twice or 3 times a lap. You got to breathe it on the backstretch, or really you try to do it on the corner so that when you're coming off of the corner, you can hit the car and really get a run. But if you don't do that, you're not going to get an advantage. And that's what the good speedway drivers do, is they hit it at the right time, they bump draft at the right time, and they're able to use that draft advantage in the way that they should, because if you don't, you're just going to overheat and you're going to blow up.
That's a great point. And that's another area that I feel like iRacing, tweaked a little bit, and it's more challenging now to, I feel, get this next gen to cool down. It doesn't seem to cool as quickly as it did before, and it seems to heat almost maybe a time and a half faster than it used to. And as far as cooling and managing your temps, you're absolutely right. I threw away a should have been a 100%er win at Talladega, but I didn't do what you said there. I forgot to pull out and get that car air on the final lap because I was packed tight with a 3-car breakaway. And guess what I did? She blew up coming out of the tri-oval, and I went from first all the way back to that 15th place position because I made that one costly mistake. As we see these drivers now starting to get single file here, but 2 drivers on the high side of the racetrack, they are doing everything they can to try to get that second lane going.
Yeah,
Looking like we're just keeping on single file here right now. Just everybody looks like they're going to mind their P's and Q's for the moment. But that outside line now, we got Evan back here trying to make some moves. We'll see if he can materialize anything. But we got the leaders connected a little bit, and they may start.
Thought I was clear on that. I didn't even call it.
You can hear them keying up on the radio. Something new we're going to try tonight being a special event race. Normally, we limit the audio from the racetrack to the broadcast, but because it's a special event race, we're trying some new things here on the channel. You're going to have wide open all access to every single word that comes across the radio airwaves. The good, the bad, and boys, as you know, sometimes the ugly.
I love that. I think that's a great move. I think that's maybe the best thing that we can do in iRacing, because that's how it really is. I mean, we should watch a broadcast the way we experience this race. And that's what they are. I mean, that's what we're doing right now, is when someone gets angry, they're yelling. When someone is trying to work with somebody, they're talking. Like, I think that's the way it should be. So I appreciate this move that you're making, and making sure that we hear everything that they're hearing.
I appreciate that. I wanted to try to find a way to give the users at home the ultimate experience. I know this is a simulator, but I feel like in real life, that's something that's missing at times, and the technology's there to do it. So why not give it a shot? And you guys hit the nail on the head. At these plate tracks, there's a lot of communication going on. Your spotter, probably your lifeline, one of your core assets here, is they're talking to you multiple times a lap, letting you know where the runs are, where the energy is. And then on the other side of that, if you do somebody wrong, as Truth Hope just keys up, and clearly the 55 ride is upset right now as he currently runs to that 5th place position. He had a big time moment there on the racetrack. What a great job deploying the save and maintaining the draft. A big time moment there for that AC Delco Chevrolet as we now work 11 out of the 94 laps scheduled here from the big house at Talladega. You know, boys, we were single file just about there moments ago, and now look at this pack. It is highly disorganized. It is disrupted, and that's all from a Code Brown moment there in the pack, and look what the outcome is. Now we're going to have to get these guys restructured, refiled, and refocused.
Yeah, we had a check up on the inside line there. Sorry, Brent. Had a check up on the inside line there. It looked like they got kind of offset on the leaders did. They did a good job, however, of everybody kind of just back it down, let it get it gathered back in, so we can keep racing here on the green. As we catch a lap car here, Andrew. Looks like that's starting to pit thing is got to lap down, but a track like this, you can catch a caution, get that lucky dog, and get back in this thing.
And that's the thing with plate racing, right? You got to have lady luck on your side. You have to have a couple things go your way. And while I love the decision and the strategy here, a big part of making that work is basically a caution or a reason for the yellow flag to come out to slow the pace down. Unfortunately, Teff did not get one as he falls back now in line. The last car in the lead draft going to be one lap down here, so he's going to now be banking on a caution, and he wants to keep himself the first car one lap down to have that opportunity to get back on the lead lap as he currently runs, or excuse me, he's being shown off the racetrack, which is odd, but that's not the case. Teff being scored in 14th as he's now going to work with that Toyota that pit started with him. The 22 of Haas Beverly in the Dark Horse, newcomer to the series, is going to join up with them. However, guys, he's on the lead lap being scored in that 10th place position.
Yeah, it's they're in a position right now where they're on lap 14. We've got a 8-car breakaway, and you know what? If those 8 cars stay together, they're going to keep breaking away further than the next pack can even catch them, because they are working together. Even though I don't know if these guys are teammates or not, but they know that if they work together, they can get away from these guys. So that's what I would do if I was in that position. I'd be working with those guys, be bunt drafting. Now they went too wide, so
3 wide.
Maybe they're not working together as much as I thought they would be. But that's what I would have been doing.
It's moments.
I was just about to say that this is looking like a green flag, a possible green flag.
They're still touching.
Until that, they are banging through 2 there.
They just three-stooged themselves about 3 or 4 times through the corner, and they just kept on going. Like, oh my God, hold your breath, boys. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but that shoulda, woulda, coulda been the big one. They were high-fiving each other like they were dirt track racing.
I mean, Talladega is kind of a version of dirt racing. It's wild, and you just send it in there sometimes, and it works, and it doesn't work sometimes.
I'll tell you what, Nitrous Cowboy there, Troy Thomas in that throwback, beautiful-looking good red scheme, obviously made famous by the late, great Dale Earnhardt Sr. If you came to a race here in the 90s, early 2000s, as one adjustment I have to make to that live audio feed, it is screaming into my headset to the point where I can't even think when they key up. So with that being said, getting back to what I was saying, if you came to this racetrack in the late 90s, early 2000s, when that 3-car went to the lead, it felt like an earthquake in this place. The uproar, the emotion from the fans was unlike anything I've ever experienced, and I was so fortunate and so glad to be there.
Sorry about that.
And anytime I see that race car out there on the racetrack, just gives me chills, even to this day. And I love that Troy Thomas is throwing it back, doing it for Dale tonight here as he runs in that 4th place position.
Brandon does think too about coming here quite a bit, don't you, buddy?
I mean, I've been here. My family and I, we camp out here on the infield. We've done it for the last 16 years.
Oh God! Oh hell yeah!
So it's been amazing. Unfortunately, we started after Earnhardt had passed, but it's always been an amazing track. We've seen Earnhardt Jr. do great things here. But yeah, seeing that 3 is just, it takes you back to when you first enjoyed loving NASCAR. So you always got to root for it. You always got to be a fan.
It is, and it's. I think another part of that too is keeping the history and keeping the spirit alive with the newer generations, with the fans that didn't have the opportunity to see drivers like Earnhardt, Gordon, Stewart, Wallace out there on the racetrack. So it's important to keep those drivers in the conversation, because if not, they kind of get lost to the sands of time. And I think the NASCAR community has done a great job of paying respects and keeping them, in the forefront to a certain degree. Just like Evan Gumley, who is up 6 positions right now, gentlemen. Currently, last time by, ran a 50-35, working lap 18 out of the scheduled 94. 65% fuel in these next gens tonight, which means they're going to get roughly 13 gallons of Sunoco racing fuel. And by my calculation, as we approach lap 20, we should be seeing green flag pit stops perhaps in the upcoming 4 or 5 laps or so.
Green flag pit stops means you better find a buddy and have somebody come down the pit road with you. You do not want to pit your board or have some hand signals or something to make sure you are coming in with the pack or with at least the faster you can be on exit and just keep your momentum up, the better off you'll be.
I think.
Yeah, and
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Paul's not wrong. I mean, you not only do you want to come in with at least 2 or 3 cars, you also want to trick everyone else and come in when they don't even know you're coming in. So you try to act like you're not coming in, and then you go in and you're pitting with a pack, and then you come out with 2 or 3 cars so you can have the draft and you can get out in front of all of them, and then you're gone.
And all that is all for naught if you're not on the same strategy. You can go 2 tires full of tank, being that this is only 65% fuel. You definitely maybe only want to go 2 tires here, but definitely not more. 2 tires are not that important here. Just, you're just worried about them throwing a caution or something. But however they play this out, that's going to be what kind of makes or breaks, where they end up after.
And I'm glad you guys brought this up, because I think this is one of the most overlooked critical areas in all of plate racing, and that is the execution of green flag pit stops here. Because as you guys said, you can lose so much time, or if you want to maximize on the field and really get done in the trenches, getting on pit road hot, but executing to the point where you don't get a penalty, that pit delta can be your best friend if you know how to get the job done. And the one place I practice pit stops more than anywhere, Daytona and Talladega. Why? Because so many times I have brought myself back into races after things have gotten strung out from being able to get it done on pit road at racetracks like this. And I think it's one of the things that it kind of sleeps on people. They forget. They think about the mayhem on the racetrack, everything else that's going on around them. And the one thing, the most critical thing you can forget about sometimes is being able to get that car on and off pit road faster than anyone else if you have the battle buddies, if you have the friends with you. That is critical.
100%. I mean, when Paul and I in Beast Mode, when we pit, we say like,
I'll try my best, Richard. I forgot I got my short track stuff on my wheel.
Go into the pits. We're not trying to make up time. We just want to go in together. We don't want to get a penalty, and we want to come out together. And when there's 4 people or 3 people that can do that, you're going to be ahead of everyone else when you come out, when everyone gets up to speed.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you another question, and then we'll kind of get off of our pit road rant here. But hey, why not? It's Talladega. It's important. When you're deciding what lap to pit on, how do you guys determine if you want to be the first group, Group A, or if you want to stay out another lap and be that second group? What's the thought process? What's the logic there?
I'm going to let you take that.
Actually, there's a few things that kind of come into play there. It depends on where we're at on the track. Are we behind? Are we up? We need to make up time. Who do we have around us that's going to be our buddy? Because as soon as we can get in the single file line, and the faster we can go, you want to make sure that the person behind you is a good pusher. The person leading can actually lead. The guy in 3rd place and 4th place, they all play a role when you're trying to make up time or trying to just put distance to the people behind you. So there's a lot of things that kind of come into play. Sometimes you may look at the field and go, hey, look, some people had some issues getting on pit road. There could be a caution, or they're running in a pack somewhere. There could be a big caution. They want to wait. But here you can pretty much pit, not lose a lap if you do it right. So therefore, like I said, circumstances and the people around you do always play a part in all those decisions when they're made.
And if there's, I'll tell you what, I can't think of a time where there's more different scenarios, solutions I'm trying to process, outcomes in my head while I'm driving at almost 200 miles an hour at Talladega, at Daytona. I wonder why I love these races so much, but I'll tell you what, boys, to me, it's the ultimate test of skill, luck, and just the competitive nature out there on the racetrack. Just the way that these cars race because of, that restrictor plate. And my God, we could talk about that probably for days as it got deployed in the series after 1987 when Bill Elliott set, I believe, a pole speed here of over 212 miles an hour. The problem, these cars spun around backwards. They would turn into airplanes and take off flying. And we had some horrific crashes here. So NASCAR decided they had to do something. And that something at that point in time was reduce the speeds, reduce the airflow underneath these cars when they spin around backwards, and that'll keep them on the ground. After that, we've seen roof flaps and other technology, but ever since the late 80s, we haven't seen those types of speeds out here in competition. The byproduct of that is this pack racing we have today. It's up close and personal, a matter of inches, millimeters at time, and one driver makes the wrong move, and you set off a nuclear bomb out here on the racetrack. From a broadcast perspective, it's everything you could ask for. That's what people get all fired up about. That generates the conversation. However, if you're the driver out there on the racetrack and you're the one that's taking race cars to the face, you're going to have a different opinion on things. And I'm curious, how do you guys feel about plate racing? Do you agree with the restrictor plate, or would you like to see that thing removed and just full send out there?
I think restrictor plate racing is the most fun racing to watch. It's like I've been there for 15 years. It's the most fun to be at. It's for if I was a driver, I would think it maybe would be the worst to be at because it's the most dangerous. I mean, you're so close to everyone else, but it is so fun. It makes it so fun to watch. The most fun year of restrictor plate racing that in my memory was when they put the strip across the top of the car, and they had the most lead changes that year in that race at Talladega that they've ever had, and it was just wild. I mean, it was so fun to watch, but it's got to be frustrating as a driver to be
that was
in the
that
car.
was the old Wicker bill. That was the old Wicker bill they had.
Yes, sir.
Through those whole day, I remember that. Yeah, 1987 when Bobby went into the fence. I remember them doing full speed pit stops here. So no speed limit. So, I mean, it's back then that was some hair raising knuckle stuff. But even then, they still had some horrific wrecks. I mean, and so I understand why they did it.
58 coming in this time.
The old school guy in me would love to see them take it off, but I mean, it's still entertaining. So people get to see it. We've already got pit stops working here right now.
Me too.
That's right. Joel Brooks and Haas Beverly currently on pit road, coming off of pit road out of Elmira, New York. That's my home state. In fact, he lives right outside of Watkins Glen International Raceway, that road course that I like to call the super speedway of road courses. He's right there in their backyard in Elmira. That's Joel Brooks. And then obviously with him there as well, Terry Fettel coming down pit road. And boys, he is all alone and by himself. The man out of Savannah, Georgia in the 50. Then three cars coming in together, doing it just how you guys were talking about moments ago. You have three Mustangs, so the blue ovals. You have Gumlet there, who's currently locking it into his pits. No mistakes here. You don't want to overshoot your box. It's all about getting it done in the trenches. And then you have Aaron Marquise with him. Jacob Cannon is a new wave of drivers comes down now. 96 going to be coming down pit road, as he just called it out. Truth Hoke in the 55 ride, and also the Nitrous Cowboy, as we now shift coverage back to these group of Mustangs coming off of pit road. Gentlemen, we're about to find out who did it best here in the next few moments.
Oh, we had one person stay out. I don't think that's a great idea. Jacob stayed out. That's maybe he didn't have the right angle. I think maybe it just wouldn't have been great for him to try to lock up the brakes to get in there. So he stayed out. That's going to be tough. But there were a group of about 8 cars that pitted together, and that's probably going to be the group to beat.
Yeah, that group.
Yeah, it looks like Jacob actually pitted a couple laps prior to this there, Brandon. I was watching it come out, he blended in, but now he is on an island right now, as you said, so it's still not going to be the ideal strategy. But he did spend some time up front, so he may not have got the fuel mileage the other guys were getting, so he may have had to have pitted at that point.
Yeah, that's the downside of the restrictor plate racing is, yes, you want to have a good group of people to work with you. And if you're the car that's leading the race, you've got to pit first because you are burning the most gas. But you've got to hope that your teammates are going to pit with you, so that you can minimize that balance of not being able to go as long as they are. But usually, if you got teammates with you, they'll pit with you. Even though you got less gas and they've got more gas, maybe they can go 2 more laps than you can, but they're going to go with you so that they can help you. And this is not the case with Jacob. So I think he is in a world of trouble.
Talking about Jacob Cannon, who started this race from that 3rd place position. I had a chance to turn some laps out there with him in practice. He certainly seemed like he knew how to do the dance here. And I think your call is correct. I think there was something that happened on his approach to pit road there. Obviously, this is a very high-speed entry, especially under green flag conditions. It didn't register in the black box, but I can tell just by the language of the race car there was something he didn't like, and he opted to put it back out there on the racetrack. Unfortunately, this is like being sucked into a black hole in outer space. This is exactly what you do not want. And folks at home, I'm going to throw his telemetry up on the screen, and I'm going to show you exactly what these guys are talking about as well. Why you have to have a battle buddy, why you have to have friends. As I pop up his telemetry, we can see he's currently got it locked in that 5th gear. Gentlemen, only 178 miles an hour through the corner in a single car formation. Now, if we take it up to, let's say, the front of this field with Troy Thomas, Truth Hope, 187, now 190 miles an hour, you can see where the time difference advantage is and how it could hurt you if you're Cannon.
Watch this going into 3, how fast they get. He's locked onto him. That should have got at least the 190s.
194 they topped out there into the corner.
Yeah, and see, Jacob's not even coming close to that. So yeah, it's a detriment when you're all alone out there. It's horrible. It's such a lonely feeling in a restricted plate race to be out there by yourself. But he does. Hey, we're only a third of the way through this thing. He's got plenty of time.
78 is
catch
going to
caution,
drag a
get back
hair
in
of
this.
brake.
Get back in this. He was fast when he was with the pack. So hopefully he's got some time to get back into it.
But if you are a racer and you really like to race, the Alt F4 option when you are just getting left is a very real option.
Yeah. Brett is talking about hitting the flux capacitor to better places at that point in time and just disappearing from the session. Is now Truth Hope comes up there and gives a little bit of a push to that 3 machine. That is Troy Thomas. So you have 2 teammates here out of the Misfits racing team. That's going to be the 55 and the 3 currently working together. Then the other 2 cars in this 4-car tango going to be Aaron Roth, one of the biggest movers of this race, who is up 6 positions, now resides in that 3rd place position out of Milford, Nebraska. And I'll tell you what, they've had some ridiculous severe weather there this season. Hopefully he's doing all right. And then Riley Frost in that Camaro picking up the caboose, who's up 1 position from where he started. So these 4 cars here right now currently have about an 8.4 second advantage over the second group of cars. And that is a 2-car tandem here. And that's going to be Richard Ode in the 78 being pushed by Evan Gumlett. And you can see the speed offset right now with just 2 cars out there. and the 55 almost, or excuse me, the 68 almost blew up there. You can see him lift big time and kick that nose out as he was pushing the daylights out of him. But boys, as you know,
I'm in the drop,
two
okay.
cars trying to take on four, that is a daunting task when you don't have the numbers with you.
It's impossible. I mean, you won't be able to do it. So you can push really well, and you can probably go a little bit faster for about 2 or 3 laps, but your car's going to overheat and you'll blow up. So you got to balance that with just not blowing up. So these cars that are, these three or four cars up here, Riley Cross, Aaron Ross, Truth Hope, and Coy, they're just, all they got to do is cruise right now unless a caution comes out, and they'll be fine. Just keep going.
Yeah, you want to make Troy Thomas madder than a Keebler elf that got demoted to Fudge Packer? Throw a yellow flag out there or have someone in this group set off a dumpster fire. I know it sounds wild, but how many times, guys, have you been out on the racetrack when you're in a 4-car breakaway and all you have to do is Sunday drive this thing? Like you guys said, no stress, no pressure. Just go out there, work together for the next, 40, 50 laps or so, whatever it may be. And then, hey, 5 laps to go, then put the gloves on. But someone else has an idea, decides they want a spot, and mistakes get made, and the next thing you know, you're in the catch fence 30 feet in the air.
That's the danger. That's just it. Sometimes she'll reach out and grab you, and it's usually not of your own doing. So it's usually either a bad person going wrong, checkups, things like that, or just 3 wide or something when it's packed. So right now these guys, like you said, are on the Sunday cruise and just kind of chilling out there out front. Got a nice about 27
Principal fixing to come sailing by you and drop in behind
also,
me.
I mean, they're pretty much about 3/10 faster than that second. So 4 cars we do, they say 4 cars is faster than 2, and that's those guys back there. We got O and Evan back there. They are kind of on an island themselves.
I'm getting hot.
I'm giving you
Like I
a
said, we'll get us all worked out. Like I said, sometimes caution will come, but
drop in live.
right now it's been very good.
Well said. Very clean here for the first 37 laps here at Talladega, Alabama, home of this 2.66 mile mega racetrack that NASCAR's pride and joy back in the late 1960s. In fact, the first time they ran a race here, none of the Cup guys wanted anything to do with it. They said, They actually had to fill the Cup race with Grand National drivers. That's how intimidating this place was. And as intimidating as it is, we got to step aside, pay some bills. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with all the high fly and high octane racing action. Stick around. Race fans, good evening. Welcome back to Racers Elite Network. A special event tonight as the stars come out, and it's Talladega, baby, tonight in primetime as they take on this 2.66 mile high-speed, high-octane masterpiece that was built and first raced in the late 1960s, I believe 1969. The first time the green flag flew here, and it has been some of the best racing in all of motorsports since that. And here we are on the simulation side of things, and how fitting Troy Thomas, aka the Nitrous Cowboy from Misfits, out there currently carrying the torch, leading the way as his teammate Truth Hoke behind him in the 55 ride. Then you have Aaron Roth and Riley Frost, I believe, who is a newcomer to the series, but having a great run here. Currently started fifth in that fourth place position. You don't want to get too far back if you're a driver like Richard Ode, because this next-gen race car, guys, 6 to 7 tenths of a second, and you're out of luck, you're out of the draft.
Trying to get together, I believe, according to the radio, they're trying to get that third pack up to the second pack to be able to pit together. 5 cars, then they might have something to work with these this front pack here.
Right, and that's exactly what drivers like Hoth and Roth don't want to see. They don't want to see these other packs start to get creative and generate more numbers, because what that translates to is that's an opportunity for those drivers to go up there and run them down. However, as it stands right now, as we gear up for another round of green flag pit stops, currently that gap might as well be the distance from Florida to California. 23.83 seconds. That's the interval right now to a driver who's like in 8th place. For example, Jacob Cannon in the 17. Remember, that first wave of pit stops was a hot dumpster fire for the 11. He's found some help out there on the racetrack. The downside of that is, they're going to need a miracle. A caution flag, though, would change everything, as they are currently run 23.20 seconds behind that lead pack. Now, if you go to the second pack, Richard Ode currently in that 5th place position. A 2-car tandem here. These guys are about 16 seconds off the pace. Still, I mean, he might as well start in the next county over, if you ask me, with that type of time on the racetrack. I mean, we're talking almost a half lap down plus for some of these drivers. Anyway, you're going to need a miracle in the form of a caution flag to get yourself back in it, boys. But my God, how many times have we seen a race like this where it's more strung out than a methadone clinic, and yet we get that yellow flag somehow, some way, with 5 laps to go, and they put on some of the best racing, and it's a finish you'll remember for the rest of your life. That could be what we're setting up for here at Talladega as we approach lap number 50 next time by at the line.
As a broadcaster, we hope that that's the case. But as a driver, if you're in the top 4, you do not want that as the case. You want to be riding in line 4 in a row, because there's no way they're catching. I mean, they are 17 seconds behind. They're losing about a second a lap. You cannot make up time as a 2-car tandem for more than a lap, because you will overheat. So for a lap or 2, you can go really quick, but you've got to back off to be able to have your car breathe and get them there. So there's absolutely no chance that anyone else has, unless there is a caution here, if these 4 front runners can stay in line, work together, and no one else causes a caution. So as a broadcaster, I hope they do cause a caution, because it would be pretty fun. But as a racer, I hope they don't.
You know, as a broadcaster, when I'm in this mode, when I think to the driver mode, at times when things happen on the racetrack, you know, it's quite the confliction, because as a broadcaster, you want to see that action. You want, you know, that adrenaline rush. You want people to be engaged. You want that just classic Talladega 4-wide finish, you know, thousands of a second apart from one another. One car, you know, doing a fakey 540 into the fence at the start-finish line. However, as a driver, if that happens, man, I am hating life right now. I want it to stay just like this. Minimize as much competition as possible. So if I have this breakaway right here, I'm going to do everything I can to stay rack-tack nice and tight and get pull away from everybody. And then 3 laps to go, I'm going to start seeing what type of mojo I got in my back pocket to go ahead and shake and bake them to the line. And it's crazy just how different it is from your perspective, but that's the actuality of it. And one of these drivers just keying up on the radio, I believe that was the 68 moments ago, saying he had 7 laps of fuel left. So, boys, pit stops coming sooner than later.
Ready to pit.
Yeah, we got the top 4 here. If you're in that top 4, you want this thing to go green.
4.8
and you really
right now.
want to settle it amongst the 4 of you, because it's so much better to race just 4 of them than it is to race 14. So the thing is, like I said, if you're in this top group and expanding on exactly what Brandon and yourself are talking about, caution here would be detrimental if you're a racer. However, a broadcaster, you're a fan watching this, you're probably thinking, yeah, let's stack them up and let's get the party started. But right now, heck, we're just a little over halfway. I think right now it'd still be they're doing a fine job of just clicking laps, learning what their car's going to do in traffic, and just get ready, prepare for these pit stops that will be coming up here shortly.
And here's the thing. The guy leading, you're like, oh, Troy's having a great time right now. He's leading the race. He's got no troubles. Guess what? He's got to take more gas than everybody else behind him. So he's going to end up being the second, third, or fourth car in this pack. If he comes out, great. But if he has a perfect pit stop, he will still come out second, third, or fourth.
What do you want me in the 78 to do?
More gas.
And that is the price you pay for leading here at Talladega, Daytona. And I think even with the new hybrid Atlanta, it comes into play there. Maybe not so much as an effect here, but that's the Piper. That's the Pied Piper of the situation. You're the first car punching the hole in the air. You're having to work that much harder. Right now, Truth Hoke is using Troy Thomas as a fuel pig. Point blank simple. That's what it is. Or if you look at the car that's third in line, you see that gap right there, how they're starting to space out a little bit. I promise you, if we can see the telemetry when we went on board at times, these drivers are not wide open. They can utilize the draft to overcome the drag, which means less throttle, more fuel mileage as the 11 gets ready to come down pit road. That's a great point you brought up there, and there's nothing you can do about it. He's going to have to take more fuel. Now, you can mitigate your time on pit road by not taking tires. There's a couple things you can do, but then
Let's make sure we give each other room.
handling comes into play. I know with the track temps we're seeing right now in this next-gen car really does not seem to abuse these Goodyears here, but that is a risk you take should you not take tires to overcome the additional time of having to take additional fuel on pit road, which pit stops now underway here momentarily.
Yeah, you're not taking tires here more than what your gas is going to allow you to take. So if you can gas up in 12 seconds, you're going to take 2. If you
I think he might be speeding there. Sorry to interrupt. I think we might have had a speeder, but we'll see.
We're going to go ahead, grab manual control, and go VHS mode here. We're going to wind it back. Believe pit Yep. Go to quarter speed. Thank you for calling it out. Oh, yeah, he locks him up. You see the smoke go flying? And the minute you lock those tires up, that car is going to go straight, and watch this. He's going to absolutely decimate the commitment code. Oh, he barely misses it. Then he goes...
Yeah, he's waiting in the pits. He got a penalty.
Yep.
78 overshot his pit box by a hair, too, so he's going to be coming out, and hopefully he can stay connected to the draft.
It's crazy on this track how perfect you have to be on pit stops. Getting in, hitting that pit stall just right, and then getting out without any wheel spin. I mean... You've got to hit it perfectly in order to stay with the people that you pit with most of the time.
Absolutely well said. As we went ahead and kind of saw a live replay there of what went wrong out there on the racetrack moments ago. And you're right, it's a fine line that you walk between grip and slip. How hard can you push it And if you overstep just a little bit, this race car very unforgiving,
Crispy, I'll
and you're
tell you,
hanging
tag
on for
team
the
up.
ride.
I'm by myself. We got 2 other cars up here in front of me.
He's going to drive us on the radio now because of that mistake on pit road. That's really thrown a monkey wrench into their race plans as Troy Thomas now quickly goes by the 41 of Marquise, who was out there living on a prayer Bon Jovi style without a dance partner. But he may be able to hold on to this pack here. He is flirting with
I'll
it.
stay to the inside. I'm going to come back. 3 pit this time, 3 pit.
And you heard it right there, boys. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's
Oh,
them
I
pitting.
was just saying, got the leaders look like they're getting ready to hit pit road here right now. So
96 pit.
As they now call it out.
All right, let's get to the cars in front of
So
us.
we'll see
Pick all
how many of
up.
them stay together once they leave pit road, because this is tough.
I'll tell you what, that's how it's done right there. Everyone giving each other space. You see some of the cars go to the higher side, the middle, the bottom. That's how you hit pit road at speed and minimize mistakes. You all have a game plan. You all know where you're going to be. And look at this. Look at the unison of these cars all hitting pit road.
Hold the line, boys.
Almost all of them at the same time. As you see the jacks going up on some of these race cars. Looks like 2 tires to the call here for the Chevrolets. As that jack drops 2 kids at Sunoco Racing Field. Now watch Troy Thomas. He had to wait just a little bit longer, but still. Oh, it almost looked like he dumped the 96 or the 98, but then ghost mode, of course. I almost forgot about that, as that was probably some wheel spin. But at first look, I thought there was contact between the 3 and the 96. And Brandon Ball, these guys, textbook of how it's done.
And who is the last one out of that pack that got on the track?
Bingo, Troy Thomas.
And where was he before the pits?
He was carrying the torch, P1.
Exactly. It's crazy how that works. I mean, you would think that the leader would come out as the leader, but that's never how it works at a speedway.
And sometimes I feel
gotta
like
get to 'em this
you
time,
have to
boys.
be a little bit better than those guys too, because of that extra time. And I think Thomas did a great job there, as he's able to maintain and keep stay in formation with this lead pack, still 4 cars strong. As Jacob Cannon just went the fastest lap of the race in that 17 machine. Like I was telling you, he is FAST fast. He just needs a caution flag to get back in this. If you're wondering how fast that was, well, that was 2.5 tenths faster than the previous fastest lap out of Spartanburg, South Carolina. I'll tell you what, guys, should we get that caution flag, keep your eye on that 17. That'll re-motivate him, re-energize him. The other side of this thing, we're talking about pack numbers. Right here, this is the biggest cluster of race cars working together, being led there by Andrew Teft, who's currently scored in that 12th place position out of Hope Valley, Rhode Island. However, his initial strategy here kind of blew up, and someone disappeared. The 68 gets a case of the blinkies, and as a driver, that's the worst thing you could do, especially at a super speedway, is have a car disappear, because when he reappears, he could be sitting in your lap, and bad things happen should that be the case out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, if he's blinking like that, it kills your momentum too. The server does not recognize you there, so therefore it will hinder your speed because it doesn't think you're there anymore. So it will actually slow you down. So looks like he's gone back solid now. So hopefully that was just temporary. But these boys back here are stacked. Oh, there's a big stack up right there. They just need to try to stay straight and keep this thing going, because they're going to need to put down some good lap times to start closing the gap.
Yeah, right now you see these cars in this pack are all doing the snake, and that's this is a byproduct in sim racing, and we see it in real life sometime, mainly in the ARCA series, is that snake, because everyone's trying to chase the bumper of the car in front of you, and that's not what you want to do. Just hold that wheel straight. Don't make those sudden movements to the right and left, and that's what creates that snaking effect. Just hold it straight. Try to keep your car in a vector that's relevantly squared up with the car in front of you, and that'll help mitigate that effect out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, you got in this next gen Cup car, there is a specific.
Oh yeah, we're
spot
definitely gaining
that
more
is
than
a
what we was
pushing
earlier.
spot for draft. If you are to the right of the
Come on,
car,
Riley,
to the
push,
right of
Riley.
center, you're going to be dragging the car in
I'm gonna
front
stay
of
up a little bit.
you.
Give
You want to
some
be a
air.
little bit left
You want
of
to
center.
run the line?
with your visuals, and that's
Okay.
the perfect spot to push. That's where you're going to get the most draft. That's where you're going to get the most speed.
I'm good now.
Absolutely,
Keep it
100%.
227,
You know,
we'll
you
be
mentioned
good.
the left of center, and I love doing that in the corner because not only does it maximize the draft effect, but it also helps you get a little bit of air on the nose. However, if you go just a little bit past that double yellow line around this racetrack, well, guess what, folks? It goes from a banking to the flatlands, and if you take it a little too much, that race car is going to take off on you, and bad things are an end result. So you also have to keep in mind when you're drafting aggressively, you know, and you're kind of offsetting to the left. If you're on that double yellow line, you take it too far, the apron could blow up in your face as well.
Keep doing it, boys. Y'all
Well,
doing
the
great.
rescan they
198
give
going in the
this,
first.
I ran the old style ARCA car here last weekend actually in a kids race. We had a race for some kids that painted cars and so forth. But anyway, that you can actually, that double line, it's a little smoother down there. You can get down a little further on it, but like you said, you don't want to go below that because then at that point you just de-wedge the car and it's horrible at that point. You can't, sometimes you just spin out. So yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. So I mean, meanwhile you're watching these guys still snaking and so forth, and you know these bumpers don't line up. As Brandon said, the perfect spot is that left to center, but you don't want to be swiping your nose across those back bumpers because if you do that while you're connected, someone's going for a ride.
Yeah, someone's going full-blown code brown if you do that. And how many, you know, that's a great point. You know, I think wasn't Kevin Harvick that kind of gotten credit for that move in, I'll say, the modern era, that swiping the nose there on the car in front of you. It just gets you a little bit loose and upsets the balance of the race car, you know, to a certain degree. Or other times, to your point, you do it a little too aggressive, and, well, it's going to be a rough day in the neighborhood, so to say, as we currently work lap 64 of the 94. Want to take a moment, shout out everyone that's currently watching right now here
Kevin, how far
on
are
the
they
stream.
on your telemetry standing?
Chicken Coop Racing, appreciate you guys
Got
being
12
here
seconds.
on board. I see 47 live viewers. Want to thank all of you for being here. You want to make sure you stay informed of everything
And I'm
Racers
assuming
Elite.
that end of
It's
that lap
simple.
traffic
Smash the
pass
like
is
button, ring the bell. That way you'll get notified each and every time Racers Elite takes it to the racetrack in
knocking
prime
off
time. And we
close to
have
the second, 3/4 of
7
the
nights
second lap
of
on
racing
the
action.
leaders.
Everything NASCAR related, we got it. Hell, even a Class MASH series, if that's what you like. All things Racers Elite.
Truth,
You
just,
won't miss it
Keep in mind
from
my
the
steering's
green
a
flag to the
little
checker
twitchy. I
flag
don't have my
right
speedway
here
in
on Racers Elite Network. And guys, I am telling you, while I love the
Okay.
audio being translated to the broadcast, when they key
we're
up, it
definitely
is
flying.
so
We're running
loud,
quick time
it makes
back
my
here.
teeth chatter.
We've got the cars.
Yep, I mean that's a good thing though, right? So they're talking,
Gained about a
so
second on that.
there's stuff happening on the racetrack, which is great. We've seen the second pack the last 10 laps. They've gained a little bit of time on the first pack. So I mean they're catching, but
I have to
it
stop
would
at a
take
fast now after
an
this race.
act of God for 20 seconds to be made up. So
Yeah, well,
they're
God
really
ran
going to have to stay
49.7.
intact. Then the first pack's really going to have to kind of be lax about trying to bump draft. And right now they are kind of lax about about bump drafting because the third car is the most important car in a draft.
Yes, sir.
And it's not on the second and first car like I would be if I was in the draft. But also he's got a lot of time
Under 10 seconds now.
to spare. So I kind of
They
get
can do it,
that
boys. Just keep doing
as
it.
that
Keep doing
part
what
of
you're
it.
doing.
But we'll see if maybe that second pack can really get together and push as hard as they can and get up to the first pack.
Well, I'll tell
We're
you
seeing
what.
that in the lap times too. We're seeing that in the lap times too. I mean, in last lap, we're talking like half a second, sometimes more. That second
Gained
group
a
is
second down the
faster because
backstretch.
they are aggressively trying to get there. So
My
we got
God.
a little under 30 to go. So it's possible. I mean, they're still green and they're still digging.
It's green and they're digging, that's for sure.
we don't
And
have to
I'll
sit
tell you
again,
what,
boys,
the
to keep
68
cars
is
up
doing
as,
a
we're
great
fixing to
job
come
of staying in tow with Andrew Teft, and you see him now starting to bump draft
we're definitely
more
not good
and
enough.
lock
I'm
bumpers
7
down the straightaway. The
Oh,
problem
yeah,
is
7 laps short.
is
Not
that
more than that.
Mustang behind that 68 machine. When they lock bumpers, you're going to notice how Teft pulls away with that car that's attached And that Mustang right behind him, the third place, as Brandon was
We can
saying,
get to 'em
has to
for
do a
about
better
7 seconds,
job
I'll be happy
of
with that.
staying in a close proximity.
We're at
Not
6
like that. That was the diamond formation that had disaster written all over it. But
Maybe
it's
not,
important,
but-
though, too. You don't want to push the pusher. Well, what does
Hey,
that
Todd.
mean?
There, Aaron.
If you're that beautiful Mustang, I love the paint scheme on that dark horse in that third spot in this pack, you don't actually want to be
Andrew,
making
what's your time? 'Cause I
contact
can't
with the
see them on my
68
own.
while he is pushing the 98 because
Leader for
somebody
about 19
is going to get
ahead.
squirted
Prepare
out
to
of a
talk
hot
about
dog
our
like the
side,
bun,
so if we clutch
and
these
usually
guys,
it's
we'll
going to be that
quicker.
car in the middle. It's all about staying as close as you possibly
Yeah, we'll be
can,
definitely
but
running
not
about 200
touching
mile an hour
if you're
to
that
pick them up.
car in that third place position, or at least that's what I've been taught and told.
Well, Metler, I think this is going to be really against
I wish y'all heard
what I
it.
should say in general, but you can absolutely go faster if you can 3 or 4 car tandem, and you can do it with people that can actually do it. It is very dangerous to do.
Would have been there
You-
yesterday.
if
Didn't have
you
to worry
have
about oil
3 or
time.
4 cars that can line up and do it together. I mean, Paul has been a part of this with me, and you know, we have gotten into a 3 or 4 car tandem where we're all in line and we're pushing together. That is the absolute fastest way you can get around the track, but it's also the fastest way you can get yourself in trouble if you don't do it just right.
And you
Well-
can't do it in the corners. You have to do it on the straightaway parts. You do not want to do it through the triangle either, at least in the
Catch 'em and get past 'em,
but
boys.
you want to try it if you're going to connect. Has to be when all of your steering wheels are straight.
And
Or
I
y'all won't
think
be
that's the
there.
other part of it too. You
It's
guys
hard.
are some of the
Easiest
elites,
if you
in
go
my
high and then
opinion.
catch the
You know,
group.
when I first started broadcasting your races at Moonshiners Racing League, that was the first time I had a chance to really watch some of the greats out
right,
there
here
on the
come boys.
racetrack. And you guys just do things differently at your level, and I understand what you're saying, and you're absolutely
line.
right. However, there's a big risk reward factor there, and if you get it wrong, I mean, the consequences are just
Massive.
massive. And I think that's
Detrimental.
or detrimental, exactly.
Oh,
And I
yeah,
cannot
that
tell
would go
you how many
somewhere.
times I have seen the big one kick off late in one of these races when the
Dang
pusher
right we are.
gets pushed going into the
200
corner
on earth.
and someone gets rocketed face first into that outside retaining wall. And that's the main reason why I think I have that in my mind, just because at the level that I race at, typically that's frowned upon. However, if I load into a PGR race, it's a completely different playing field. And, you guys, I love watching you go out there and do it. I've learned a lot from you guys. It's currently Andrew Tepp getting a great push there from Evan in the 68 as these guys try to find a way to mount a charge and pull off a biblical miracle as they're currently chasing Truth Hoke, Aaron Roth, Troy Thomas, the Nitrous Cowboy. That's your top 3. Riley Frost. This lead pack right here, which currently has, you guys ready for this? An 18.67 differential between Group A to Group B with 23 laps to go. We got to get a
But-
crank. Go ahead.
That lead was 22 or 23 seconds just about 6 or 7 laps ago. So I mean, they are cutting it down.
They are cutting it.
Another thing you want to look at, we probably have at least one more pit stop here. So, I mean, and again, it's going to come down to, those, just like you said, those leader guys are going to be the ones that are going to be in there longer, just like Brandon pointed out. So, if you're sitting there, you're the 55
All right, where
this
they at?
time, he's still in the front, so you got to watch out for that.
19-3.
Well, there we go, boys. We finally busted into the 49-second bracket for the second time. Haas Beverly in the 22 just clicked off a 49.72. And as Brandon just mentioned, they have it going in the right direction as far as closing the gap goes. They still have a long way to go. As this race currently is lean, mean, and green, single file, ripping the bottom of the racetrack with 22 laps to go on the board. Gentlemen, we have to cut to a crank it up session here. So before all is said and done, we're going to go wide open coverage here on Racers Elite Network. Grab the dial, crank it up with us right here on Racers Elite. Let's do this.
Put those earplugs in if you need them.
Welcome back, race fans of Talladega, Alabama. 15 laps remaining in this one. Hope you enjoyed that all-out, wide-open, crank-it-up session brought to you by Racers Elite Network and, as always, GTR Simulator, part of the Strategic Family Alliance. We're on board with Troy Thomas in that third-place position on the GoPro cam, looking back at that 96 machine being piloted by Raleigh Frost. And as you hear it now on the radio, boys, they're talking about fuel, about 4 laps, and we're going to have the ever-important money stop here on the racetrack. It all comes down to this if it's under green flag conditions.
They are trying to make
How many gallons everybody's taking?
pit stops.
I didn't want to steal that from you. I know you've been on point with all this data, with the telemetry here in that department. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. And he is absolutely right, folks. They have found the afterburner in that pack, and they have it engaged. However, like you said earlier, they're going to need a miracle. The annexation of Puerto Rico, if you watch the Little Giants, they need that miracle play, and that could be in the hands of Barney, the flag guy, should they get a yellow. 3 laps. In fact, hold on one moment. As one of the drivers is actually sending me a DM while driving out here on the racetrack. Troy Thomas, as he currently runs in that third-place position, tells me he has 3 laps of fuel lap, and that's in the lead pack, guys.
See if we can go 2 more laps.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
I'm
I
at
mean,
2.4.
you've got to hit these perfect again. Like I said before, you
All right,
got to hit the pit stop
I'll get
perfectly.
it.
You got to come out with the guys you went in with.
I'm going with them.
If you don't, if you come up with 2 guys,
Is he
that's
going
a big
in?
problem. If you come out with 3 guys, that's okay. but not
Make sure to
great.
hit this one. Give each other room in the middle.
I would say that this game, Max is having about
There's the left again. I got an early box.
really work together. That's probably an optimal tandem as long as
I
you
got
guys
cooled
pull
back
together
down, so I'll
perfectly.
get back up here with you.
3 cars is not great.
Let's go.
2 cars is definitely not good. So we'll see how they come out of this pit cycle.
Sorry to
One
cut
thing
you
to
off.
keep in mind,
Go ahead. Here we come. Here comes the mayhem to pit road, led by Andrew Teft, as we go on board with him for his money stop. Should be the last time he is on pit road. And look at the amount of troops he's got with him, ladies and gentlemen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 race cars all pitting together. Brandon, that is an ideal scenario. Mimicking what you said moments ago, is all cars currently locked in their pit box receiving service for perhaps the final time this evening.
they don't need a full tank. They don't need a full tank this time. Keep that in mind, guys. So these are going to be quick gas and goes. All they need to do is get enough to get to the end here with about 11, 12 again.
Yep, we had a couple guys take full gas and got left behind. So I see a couple cars that have just been lingering, and they didn't do the right pit strategy, and or they overshot their pits, and they're done unless there's a caution.
And speaking of that, another self-inflicted gunshot wound for Michael Capps, that 404 machine, who looks like he took full fuel, did not get the amount of gallons adjusted, and he got left in the sands of time here as everyone else from that pack, Richard Ode, Christopher Allen, all up here vibing in the draft. Truth Hoke now leads at the point out of Hickory, North Carolina. Aaron Roth in second, Troy Thomas in third. These gentlemen last down pit road on lap 57 with just 10 laps to go, boys. Gentleman's handshake lap on the board. This is when all bets are off. Everyone forgets about teams, this, that, the other. It's all about you and your sponsors being the first one over the start-finish line. However, they have one more pit stop they have to execute. And this one here, gonna make or break you, boys. So they get ready to do it for one more time.
3 pittings wheel. I'll stay to the right.
Yep, leaders. Looks like leaders
I'll be on your right.
coming in this time. We'll see here. Just try to. All you gotta do is be smooth here. You got a full lap on the rest of those guys. They are lined up. They've got a little bit of a, well, two of them anyway. So we got nice and smooth in. Looks like, yep, all four of them are in. So we'll see what they got here. Hopefully just flash and goes and get back out there.
Help me. Come on. Come on, 111. We gotta go.
I don't know if they were nice and smooth, but they got
They made it.
I got left out.
No harm, no foul.
And sometimes it doesn't have to look pretty, but if you
I'm
all
trying to
accomplish the same objective, which they did, is Frost, Thomas, Aaron Roth, and Truth Hoke down in a way. How much fuel are you taking here? About, what, 2.3 gallons or so?
You want to make sure you can make, if there's a green-white checkered situation in this league, then you want to make sure you can at least make that, but that's it.
And another zip code, we are.
And in this league, I believe for special event races,
I think
don't
I put
quote
too
me, I'm
much
about
fuel in.
60% certain or confident you have one opportunity at overtime, should that present itself, to finish this race under green flag
About
conditions.
19 seconds. I
As
don't
this last
understand
group
how
of
that's
cars
even
down
possible.
and underway as they get up to speed.
I do, because we completely got separated on the pit exit.
And that pit exit for that first sequence,
know how
guys, as
we-
you were
not even,
talking
like,
about,
A
it has
car,
really
train of four were even
stuck the dagger
I don't understand.
in the efforts of these other drivers, as there's multiple two-car tandems now, and all that ground they had gained
It's like people took
has
time.
evaporated in their face, as we're only 9 laps to go in this one.
You can see how Troy came out a little bit behind the pack, but he's got a teammate in Truth that wanted to hang with him, and he hung back a little bit so that Troy could get a draft to get back up to the back here. And I think they're going to work together in the rest of this race. I mean, I don't see that this team is going to be pretty tough to beat. I don't know that Aaron and Riley are a team. I'm not sure exactly who's teammates in this thing, but I know that Truth and Troy are in the same Discord, so I figure they're going to work together to get this thing done if it goes green from here to the end.
You know, and I can tell you this, Truth Hoke, he has been a mainstay
Yeah, we're
in
all
this league
spread
for
out
quite
now.
some time. However, this man last season had a stretch of about 2 months where he found every possible way to take himself out of a race late. Like he
They
had
lost the
that
car.
dark
Truth did.
voodoo cloud hovering over that race car on the racetrack. We're
We gotta
talking
have
freak
a
stuff.
5-car, I think.
At the end of these races, race cars to the face, the pits glitching on him, not giving him fuel when he needed it, somebody coming off of pit road, Kevin LePaging him, destroying multiple vehicles. He just could not find a way to finish his race. And then he broke the curse of, at all places, Gateway. And that finish to that race, I'll have to show you the replays. Hollywood couldn't have scripted it better. And ever since that, it has been smooth sailing for Troy Thomas and Truth Hoke as they find themselves feeling really good about their.
Truth
Go ahead.
Hoke has fell back. Truth
Yeah.
Hoke has fell back, by the way, there. Matt just
Yeah.
noticed that. He had to pit.
Whoa.
He may have had a penalty or
Oh my
something.
God,
No,
I
he
was.
just pitted.
I'm telling you, folks, the broadcaster's curse is real, and Truth, I am sorry. I'm going to apologize to him now. As I was just saying, he has found ways for things to happen to take himself out of contention at the end, and it looks like it may have struck again as the 55. I cannot believe what I am seeing is all the way back in that 8th place position with no one in sight, as it's now Frost, Roth, Troy Thomas without his battle buddy. I can only imagine what went wrong there. I mean, they just came off of pit road. Everything looked like it was a seamless transition out of the racetrack. And then we bring the cameras back to the lead pack, and Truth is no more. Tough break for the 55 ride, guys.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, here, I don't know exactly what happened, if he got a black flag for how he pit or whatever happened, but what it comes down to now is, Paul, I'm interested in what you would do if you're Troy and you're the third car in line. You got 5 laps to go. What's your strategy here? You got 2 cars in front of you. What are you thinking in trying to win this race?
Right now, I've got no one behind me, so I've got no help, but so that means I'm the one that needs to help one of these guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the 50, see here, the 57, see if he's going to make a move, when he's going to have to make a move. I want to be tucked up there on that last lap, develop a push, and then what you want to do is get him side by side, hopefully create a three-wide scenario where no one's getting pushed, and you can just basically side draft each other over the line, coming through the trial, of course, but you do not make that move too soon.
Absolutely. You know, I have seen a bunch of different.
Wait a minute. Now the 55 is back in the picture a lap down, so we may still have. He may still have. Yeah.
I love this move. Go ahead. I'll go ahead.
I was just saying, do you think it's a coincidence that 55 caught back up to the back? I don't know. If it were me and I was helping if I had a teammate in the race, I'd probably wait until I could get right in line with him and help him win the race. So now it's a whole different picture because now he's got a teammate in tow.
We know exactly what happened here. Truth Hoax said, hey, my day may be over, but I can go out there and I can be a good teammate and do all the heavy lifting and get my fellow car across the start-finish line first here. So you know, the 55 and the 3, they are going to be hooked up here as it's just 3 laps to go. You know, Paul, what do you do if you're Frost and Roth here? How are you going to try to defend these positions when you're in that volatile, I'll be honest, place you don't want to be in a 4-car group coming to the checkered flag at Talladega? What's your game plan? What's your defense in this situation?
If you're Riley Frost, you're just hoping that the guys behind you get the racing and allow you to stay up front. But really, the leader's usually you're a sitting duck in this position. So Roth is the one sitting in a pretty spot. If he makes the move before
Not that it matters, but how much do we gain,
Thomas and
Andrew?
Truth go, then he can at least, maybe they'll go with him there. So then you're going to be the leader, and then them two could leave it. So really, you're
Having
just
a hard time
at
letting
this
go of the
point,
wheel,
you're just
like,
really
I don't know,
hoping
13
for
or
a
something
lot
right
of
now.
different scenarios to kind of work out in your favor.
Man, we cut it down.
And I'm
6.
telling you, if I'm
Only we had
Aaron
5 more
Roth,
laps.
I feel like I'm sitting in the catbird seat because what I would be doing here is I would make sure I cool my engine a little bit because we're coming up on the last lap. I would make sure that I could push for the entire last lap, and then I would dive out right after the tri-oval, right in Talladega, right where you can get that last 200 meters and get that win. So I would be linked to him for the entire last lap here. So let's see what happens. That's what I would do.
Popsicle sticks come down, white flag in the air here at Talladega, Alabama, where it's Riley Frost, Aaron Roth, the Nitrous Cowboy, and Truth Hoke, who is not on the lead lap, acting as a dance partner here as they come down the backstretch for the final time. Here comes the move. Troy Thomas is going to pull out, and he's got a rocket strapped to him in the form of Truth Hoke. There we go. Can they clear him getting into the turns 3 and 4 complex? The 3 is down there, but is that move too soon, guys?
I think it's too soon. I think
Frost got loose
Roth,
off it too. Frost got loose
Roth
off
and
it, but he's
Truth have
coming
enough
back.
time.
He's coming back. He's coming back. It's 3 wide, just like you said. I told y'all, 3 wide. Here they come to the line.
3 wide, looking like the Blue Angels at an air show. They bump, they touch. Here comes the push from Troy Thomas from the 55. The Nitrous Cowboys going to win at
Good
Talladega.
race, guys.
Looks like
Good race.
Earnhardt out there on freaking
good one.
real.
Good race, gentlemen.
Great indicator. Good job.
I
that
can't.
was a great, very clean finish.
Woo!
That rarely happens at Talladega, so I love to see it as a broadcaster.
I'll tell you what, guys. He almost gets wrecked there by the 51. How many times have we seen
I made a mistake. I
something
should've
like
went
that
up
in
top
real life back in the day when the Intimidator used to
Good
drive
run,
that
good win.
race car? God, that looked beautiful. I don't think you could ask for a better finish. Every one of those cars made it across the start-finish line. They didn't wad anything up. That's what Talladega is all about. That's why you buy the tickets, is the Nitrous Cowboy gonna get, I cannot believe this, gets the win here at Talladega. And guys, I can promise you this is gonna be one heck of an interview as he gets ready to burn the house down here at the start-finish line.
Do you know what's wild is that the 55 pushed the 3 to the win, just like Earnhardt's last victory in life.
Kenny Wallace when he drove it.
You got that right.
This is dropping some NASCAR.
I Your winning moment here, folks, right here on Redline Racing Network. It's not a dream. You're not watching a video from 25 plus years ago. That is Troy Thomas with a beautiful Intimidator throwback paint scheme on that 3 machine. And in Dale Earnhardt fashion, does it for Dale, does it for everybody with a absolutely thrilling 3-wide formation. Look like something the Blue Angels would do at an air show, coming to the line. It's a brilliant push, and he's going to win. You guys ready for the margin of victory here? Take a guess at what it was. Not even a tenth.
Half a hundredth.
500ths of a second. As he's still burning. Hey, you know what? You get all the good out of those good years. You don't need it anymore. As he wins the race, Aaron Roth second, and Riley Frost comes home third. As always, you're going to hear from the top 3 finishers and more as we now transition to post-race coverage. And I'll tell you what, Troy Thomas is going off right now. This is a reserve cat out of North Carolina. But I'll tell you what, he is going to be lit like a Christmas tree when we talk to him there in just a couple moments. 30 seconds while we reset the graphics. We'll be back. Don't go anywhere.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a Rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
Ladies and gentlemen, check this out. Coming to the line as Troy Thomas pulling a little voodoo out of his back pocket, getting some help from his teammate, just enough to win a high-octane thriller here at Talladega as he puts that good wrench number 3 where it belongs in victory lane. Matt Metler joined by Paul Gallimore and Brandon Bikey from Beast Mode Performance here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial broadcast booth. And folks, I have been on a 7-day stretch here. I also am a DJ in real life. My voice is hurting right now. I'm sure you can hear it. But you know what, guys? When it's that good, I don't care. As we get ready to talk to these guys, what do you give me your final thoughts on this race? What stood out to you guys the most?
Green flag. This thing went completely flag to flag. It was a lot of great racing, a lot of great strategies going on there. So it was really impressive.
Yeah, there was a lot of great teamwork. I think, the guys that needed to work together when they needed to. I mean, like I said, the second pack was catching, but the first pack worked together exactly how they needed to make sure that they second pack didn't even catch them. And that's how we ended up with a 4-car finish that there were only 4 chances of winning. So they did a great job, worked very well together, and it was extremely clean. I love that. It just doesn't usually happen at Talladega, so I love to see that.
It doesn't, and that's one of the things I love about this series is the amount of respect they have for each other and able to pull off a finish like that without wadding up race cars. Truly incredible. And joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, up in the Tony Trapasso Memorial broadcast booth. This win a long time coming, and I promise you, Troy Thomas is fired up. Man, hell yeah, brother. Walk me through that one. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you guys. Yeah, that was a fun little race there, man. I mean, if it wasn't for Truth, it wouldn't have happened. But good, clean racing. Same for the majority of the race, actually, especially when we had that 4-car breakaway. So, man, what a race!
I'll tell you what, Troy. A couple weeks ago, we talked about the Gateway Miracle and how much that finish meant to you. Now here at Talladega, where that number 3 car, iconic, famous, everyone, almost spiritual, if you ask me. And watching you, what you did out there on the racetrack, especially coming to the line, it looked like Dale Earnhardt himself was driving that car out there on the racetrack. How does that incident going back a few weeks that may have cost you a win, does it feel this much better now? It has to.
Oh, it does. It does. At least it gets the confidence up going into the new season. That's for sure. To show I can actually compete and win a race. So even if it is at Talladega, I'll take it.
Hey man, winning is winning, and that momentum is huge. It is critical. I could not agree with you more. Now you get ready to kick off the season next week with that confidence, knowing, hey, I have the speed, I have what it takes to go out there and contend. And I got to ask you, what happened to Truth? He was there with you late in this race. We cut to a couple different race cars, and we came back, and he had gotten separated from you. Was there a penalty? Did something happen out there? That
penalty coming out of the pits.
And I'll be honest. I was talking about how he finally got the monkey off his back when it happened.
I know. You should have heard him on the radios. I'm speeding.
So I invoked the broadcaster's curse on him. I gotta tell him I am sorry. I couldn't have queued it up any better. Brandon Paul, this is a thing, and it does happen. I got two first-time broadcasters with me, Brandon Blakey and Paul Gallimore, out of the Beast Mode Performances Alpha team. These guys are 2 plate track experts, all things plate racing related. These guys know how to get it done. Troy, Paul, do you have any comments for this gentleman that just won the race? I'm so fired up, I can't even remember his name right now.
Yeah. No, I want to ask Troy. So when you guys came out of the pits and you knew that it was a 4-horse race, right? What was and you were third in line because you had been leading, and you had to take more gas than them to get to the finish line. What was your thought process going into that last 3-4 laps?
Well, I just want to be close to make a move. And then, like I said, when Truth got that penalty, I was like, crap, this is not how I wanted it to go. But luckily, we was able to get together with him, and we worked the deal out. And I said, look, we're going at this time, what happens, happens. And luckily, it happened.
Y'all worked great together. I mean, it couldn't have been more perfect the way that you guys bump drafted each other right to the win. So it was impressive to see 3 wide coming off the corner. I mean, that's as good as you can ask for a Talladega, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. Nobody wrecked. They kept straight, so ain't nothing a little beating begging.
Absolutely, that was a hell of a run. Hell of a run there, Troy. You guys put on a show. It was great to see. Like I said, it was a great finish. You guys are so smooth on pit road, getting off of them. Of course, Truth's little issue there at the end didn't even really tell. He couldn't have been speeding by much. I'm sure it felt like your stomach probably sank when you heard that he was going to have to pull out of line.
Oh, do you have no idea? I was like, crap, air went. But like I said, I was just amazed how big of a gap we got on the field after the first pit stop. That just blew my mind because we didn't do nothing spectacular. I guess we came in and out of the pits better than they did. So, and we kind of just maintained that next couple of rounds of pit stops.
And we talked about that on the broadcast, just how important and quite frankly, how underestimated and overlooked execution of green flag pit stops is at a race like this. And you just did what you needed to do. You executed, and you were able to outperform the other competitors. And obviously, that gave you a nice little bit of an advantage because you were able to really widen things out there, Troy. And I hate to do this to you, but we got a couple other guys we got to talk to before I cut you.
No, you got your broadcast to do. I understand completely.
You just won a race, my friend. You deserve your time.
I think it's like my second win in the next gen here. My first one was at Watkins Glen during the season. So
Right.
win's a win in my book.
Absolutely, man. Before I cut you loose, brother, who do you want to thank? Who helps you get it done on the 3?
Oh, absolutely. I got to thank Truth tonight, buddy. I mean, without him, it wouldn't have happened. So he won last night, and I got it tonight. So big shout out to Truth, my teammate Jesse. I can't wait till you come back. Y'all for putting on this race. I know how much goes into it. And Andrew, you can't say enough about what Andrew does for his league through and through. So big shout out to Andrew as well. So he's the man in my book.
Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. The Nitrous Cowboy had 2 bottles and a 300 shot of the competition, ready to rock and roll here tonight. And what he needed to, he was clutch on the racetrack, utilizing the skills and experience from out there in previous times on the racetrack when it didn't go his way. Utilized the 55, who was a lap down to help score the victory here at Talladega. That is the one and only Troy Thomas. Thanks for joining me up here in the booth, my friend, and I hope to be speaking with you again really soon. As we now finish up our interview with our winner tonight, once again, Troy Thomas in that iconic number 3 throwback paint scheme. How fitting that he's the first car across the start-finish line. 1 down, 2 to go, boys. Next up, Aaron Roth, our second place finisher, now joining us up here in the Tony Trapassa Memorial broadcast booth. If you don't first succeed, try again. There we go. Riley Frost, welcome to the booth. Heck of a run out there for you tonight. A solid 3rd place finish. How are you able to survive and be alive and get that car of podium when it mattered most?
A lot of fuel saving. I figured it was my only shot to win that was save fuel and get out front. But
certainly, fuel always somehow, some way gets worked into these racetracks more now than I think than ever. At least that's how I feel about it. At what point in time in that race did you decide this is my move? This is what I have to do? Do you remember what lap it was roughly?
right before that last stop, I figured I'd have to make a good stop and get out front.
Gotcha. And, as far as executing that, for some of these new guys watching on the broadcast right now, what do you do in a driver in those moments like that to help you get that advantage, or at least try to get that ever critical time to put you in that position where you can capitalize?
Patience, I guess. Push it when you have to, and be patient when you have to.
Hey, patience at a racetrack like this often does a lot more good than harm, and I think your finish tonight speaks to volumes to that as you come home in 3rd place. I also have Paul Gallimore, Brandon Bikey. Gentlemen, I'm going to open it up to you guys. Any questions for the driver of the 96?
Yeah, I want to know your mentality when you came out in 2nd place after that. I think that last pit stop there. What was your strategy to try to win that race? I know you had a couple of cars that were working together, and so I just want to know kind of where your brain was at and what you were trying to do, to get that dub.
Mostly just try and get out in the front after that very last stop. I knew I was on my own, so that 3 car had a big run coming off, and I knew I was in trouble there, so I just...
It looked like off of 2 there, Frost. You guys, looks like you may have got a little loose off of 2, and you got kind of disconnected, and that allowed them to get a run down to the backstretch. Now, you made a great move getting back to them off 4. Was that the case? Did you get a little loose off of 2, or y'all just couldn't get together?
It could have been.
Okay.
I drawn a blank.
I got you. Yeah, it looks like you kind of moved up a little bit, and I just couldn't tell if you and Roth just kind of got disconnected or something. That kind of killed a little bit of your momentum.
Oh, I didn't want to be pushing up there.
I
was turned into fuel saving.
Thank you for that.
I mean, you could
Go ahead.
tell that your fuel saving got you out front actually when you came out of the pits there. I mean, that's why they got pushed to 2nd and 3rd place. So you did the right thing. It's just, some people are willing to wreck cars to block, and you weren't willing to do that. And I think that's a respectable move. And I feel like very impressed by your finish and how you ended up conducting yourself at the end of that race. I mean, you ran a great race.
Yeah, thank you. It was a long race. I didn't want to wreck everybody on the last corner, so.
And I'll tell you
Good
what,
run coming.
Riley, that's going to go so much further for you with, these drivers in the league. When you go out there and you executed in the late stages of that race instead of, throwing blocks that we know that you have probably less than a 2% chance of being able to pull off and wadding up a lot of race cars. You were out there with class, composure, is still able to pull off a great finish, and that's going to go a long way for you. As you know, these drivers, they remember things like that, and those favors do come back in your direction. I can assure you of that. Before I cut you loose, man, who do you want to thank? Who helps you get it done on the 96? The floor is yours.
Well, it's all me, but I just like to thank you guys and everybody who puts these races on.
Hey, we appreciate that. And ladies and gentlemen, Riley Frost comes home with a solid third place finish, up 2 positions from where he started. Kept it lean, mean, and clean out there on the racetrack. Showed a lot of composure and a lot of etiquette out there on the racetrack. And most of all, great decision making leads him to a podium here at Talladega. Have a great rest of your evening, and I hope to be speaking with you again soon.
Thank you. You guys too.
We appreciate that. Gentlemen, that's a great point you brought up there, just how he handled business out there on the racetrack. That certainly goes a long way, doesn't it?
I respect it. I mean, there's too many, like I said, Paul and I race in pretty high splits, a lot of big SOFs, and we just have a lack of respect and a lack of racecraft in the levels that we race on. So when we see this, and especially when I see this, I appreciate it so much. That's why I love league racing. I think that it's way better. It's just so much more respectful. This is the way that racing should be, and I really love to see that. And even though he didn't get the win, to me, I mean, I would work with that dude all day. If I see him on a racetrack, I'm going to work with him 100% because I know he's respectful. He stayed with his drafting partner. Yep. I love that.
And I thank you for saying that and you echoing that as well, Paul, because I think that's something that a lot of young racers, I don't think they realize that you veterans, you pay attention to things like that and what it does to their stock value being new, either, coming into a new series or joining a league where, let's be honest here, everyone kind of has to go through that stage of learning how to drive around each other and kind of gaining the respect of their competitors. And I think there's no better way to do that than what he did out there tonight.
I agree. 100% agree. 100% agree, Brandon. That's a great point for both of you. Like I said, I mean, the kid, he certainly showed he's definitely got the talent to get this done. And like I said, he just ran a great race. It was great at the end. Gave us a great finish, and it was something that all the viewers and myself as a broadcaster certainly enjoyed being part of.
Well said, sir. And unfortunately, it looks like our second place finisher, Aaron Roth, has already taken it to the beer tent and is being told about eight Coors into a 12-pack and is going to decline the interview. I'm going to make one more scan for him, or one more check here through the Discord.
Only 8?
Only eight. But hey, to be fair, that's like a beer a minute.
Man, we can up, man.
We'll get him there. As young as he sounded, we're lucky he could get the can open.
There you go.
We got very lucky. We got to talk with 2 really, really good finishers and had really great racecraft. So very, very impressed and very lucky to be a part of the race that we were a part of here. So appreciate y'all letting us do that, and that was a lot of fun for me.
And before I cut loose, I gotta take a moment to thank you guys, Paul and Brandon. Brandon, this is your first time, I believe, in the broadcast booth ever. And Paul, you had a chance to join me once previously, and you guys coming up here and not letting the stress and everything else that usually just wreaks havoc on new personalities or people just venturing off and going down this path, for just being yourself and sharing all of that knowledge and data with us. Thank you so much for being here. It really means a lot to us on Racers Elite Network.
Yeah, of
Damn
course.
right.
Thank you.
Appreciate you having us, man. Damn right. Had a good time.
Final thoughts, gentlemen. I know this.
Go ahead, Paul.
My final thoughts. My final thoughts was we just watched a hell of a race. It was like
Yeah.
green. Well, a lot of guys put down some really solid pit stops. I mean, they basically this top four just ran it flawlessly. They had great pit stops. Unfortunately for that second group, they were fast. They just had a few mistakes here and there, and it cost them. But again, like I said, Talladega has a way of getting you one way or the other. Sometimes it's wrecks, sometimes it's things like that. It's the little things. But again, we watched three guys here just really put on a good show there at the end, and like I said, it was great to watch.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I echo that sentiment. I think it's rare to see 4 cars pit, and I think they pit twice, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
2 times together, and they all stayed together. That's very rare. I mean, even with like my teammates, it's rare that all 4 can stay together because it is just so tough to get on the pit road at a fast speed and make sure you don't lose a lot of time and hit your pit stall just right. And they did it. So it was very impressive.
Extremely. There's so much precision you need. I mean, not only on the racetrack, but in those moments you were just talking about, where if you're not in harmony, if one part of that sequence just gets nudged a little bit in the wrong direction, it throws the chemistry, that balance off there. The way they were able to do that was incredible. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, it has come to that point in time in the broadcast where all good things must end, including this show tonight. Once again, I have to thank Troy Thomas for coming up in the booth. Give it. That interview that he did tonight, you could hear the emotion, the excitement in his voice. And then how about from Beast Mode Performance, Paul Gallimore, Brandon Bikey for coming up here, joining us on the broadcast side of things and sharing all of their knowledge and experience with us. Hope to see you guys again in the future. Anytime that door is open for you. I don't care where I'm broadcasting. You're always welcome. Cannot do this without our partner sponsors. Got to thank Team Watson Racing Setups, our official setup shop and strategic alliance partner on my channel, Redline Racing Network, GTR Simulator, and of course the HMFIC of the league, Andrew Tepf, for all of his hard work and dedication that he puts into this race. And as the late, great Tony Trapasso used to say, as you walk down the road of life this week, do us all a favor, don't play in traffic, and we'll see you next time right here on Racers Elite Network.